From the skies to the sea, there is life in every nook and cranny. To the point where one might even ask the question, where did all this come from?
Question Professor Want-to-Know wants to know. Now, abiogenesis is the evolution of life or living organisms from inorganic or inanimate substances. Now, some of you might add, what about cell theory? Which three principles state the cell, being the most basic unit of life, makes up all organisms, and all existing cells are produced by other living cells. So how can abiogenesis possibly be true? Well, first, we must go back to one of the first beliefs of where life comes from: spontaneous generation. A while before the adoption of scientific thought as a mainstream concept, people had all sorts of curious propositions on the origin of life. One such proposition is spontaneous generation, the supposed production of living organisms from non-living matter. Sound familiar? We'll get back to that. An example of spontaneous generation would be flies spawning out of spoiled meat from the ground. This idea was then combated by a French chemist and microbiologist, Louis Pasteur, whose counter-hypothesis is that life comes from other life, such as a cell coming from another cell. To test this theory, Louis performed experiments. First, he boiled the broth. Then, he placed the broth within two S-shaped flasks. One of those flasks have their S-shaped necks removed, and after a certain period of time, he examined the flasks. The observation he made is that one of the flasks, namely the flask with its neck removed, was contaminated, while the other flask remained completely sterile. He concluded, after several repeated tests, that the lack of easy entry for microorganisms led to no signs of contamination, which can't be said for the exposed flask, thus debunking spontaneous generation.
And abiogenesis?
Hold on, we'll get there. First, Professor Want-to-Know wants to tell you how biogenesis works on a cellular level, also known as mitosis. Take it away, Teach. Endosymbiosis states that organelles such as mitochondria and chloroplasts were once aerobic bacteria that were ingested by a large anaerobic bacteria. Evidence to the theory comes from the fact that mitochondria and chloroplasts have single-stranded DNA as well as a double membrane, which is found exclusively in prokaryotes. Now let's finally get back to abiogenesis and why even after all of what we have discussed here, it is still a well-supported theory. First, with the difference between it and spontaneous generation. You see, spontaneous generation is the belief that an instance of life, such as a maggot, comes from non-living material, but abiogenesis is a theory that states life itself comes from non-living material, the history behind life as we know it, from where it is now to the age of the dinosaurs and the primordial soup of the past. So they are very similar sounding, but very different concepts. But the real question is, what evidence can there actually be for abiogenesis? And that concludes it. The Urey-Miller experiment proves the first few steps needed for life to evolve from non-living material. But there is still much more to go, such as creating a protocell from non-living material. But when we do, we will be one step closer to understanding the origins of life. But hey, that's just a theory, a scientific theory. Thanks for watching.